All right, welcome back, everyone. We are getting ready to start off the last match of the day, which will be Synapse versus Rapture. We're going to be looking at Hillbilly and then Cenobite and Plague as a tiebreaker. How are we feeling about these sets, Prion?
Actually, first I'd like to kick the question back to you because I was just casting the first new Billy set of Dead by Daylight League. What do you think is going to happen in this Billy set?
I'm still waiting to see what Hillbilly players sort of congregate on for the add-ons they want to go. You know, in the past we've seen people opting between basically always going in engravings and then either low pro or maybe tuned carb if you're feeling spicy. Now with the addition of Thompson's mix and the engravings feeling a little bit less necessary as the feedback I've been getting from Billy players, I don't know if there's yet like a solved add-on combo, so I'm looking forward to seeing what each Billy player here is going to go for.
Yeah, personally, I was in the whole engravings are no longer necessary camp myself until I saw Bubba with that incredible engravings performance in the last game. So it's engravings 1, non-engravings 0 so far. So I'm really interested to see what add-ons the Billies are going to bring in this set because I mean the whole metagame has changed now because low pro is banned.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's definitely a big change here. And I was taking notes on what sets these teams have played previously, and so far neither team has played Hillbilly in this event, but we have seen Synapse has played and won a Cenobite and Plague set so far, and Rapture has not played either of those. So presumably Synapse feeling a little bit confident about both of these sets, which we have seen a fair bit of so far. I think Cenobite in particular being a really popular choice from some of these teams.
Yeah, and like you said, there's really no overlap between the sets that these teams have previously played. So we've got no experience seeing Rapture on Cenobite or Plague. Synapse has played those, like you just said, but most of Rapture's sets have been on either ranged killers or Singularity so far.
Absolutely. And maybe to an extent, I feel like Singularity has at least a little bit of overlap with Cenobite and Plague. It's an M1, but it also has this sort of macro map control element to it that we typically also see from Cenobite and Plague gameplay. So I wouldn't be super worried about that if I was coming in as Rapture here.
Yeah, so let's talk about the opponents that these teams faced. Synapse played against Ariandel and Calamity, whereas Rapture faced X9 and Void. Rapture notably barely beat X9 and ended up having X9 get a comeback win over them. But Synapse facing Ariandel and Calamity, those are two really tough opponents. How do you think the match histories stack up here?
Well, I think of the opponents they've had, I think probably X9 would be expected to be the strongest one they face, and Rapture did have a pretty solid win in their Singularity set. The Huntress set that we had after that was a little bit chaotic, let's say, dealing with sort of the new balancing with the Forced Eerie Head Wooden Fox on Larry's. That was a very interesting set. And then the Slinger set, I remember being reasonably close as well. And then when they dropped down to the losers bracket, they had a convincing 2-0 over Void. In contrast, Synapse facing Ariandel and Calamity, beating Ariandel 2-1, definitely a good showing. And then taking Calamity also to the tiebreaker. Calamity also probably one of the strongest teams in the world. I think most people would probably place them like in top five. So no shame in dropping down to the losers bracket here. Both of them having been knocked down by some of the best teams that we have. So I'm not really sure which of these teams should be stronger going into this. At least we could say maybe Rapture has a little bit of the momentum from having won their last match and Synapse having lost theirs.
Yeah, and like you said before, we are flying completely blind with the killer matchups here. All we know is that both of these teams are in the losers bracket and their tournament lives are on the line. So it's going to be a really exciting game. We just have so many good teams in the losers bracket here, and it's such a shame that we have to say goodbye to them.
Yeah, I agree. We do appear to have the lobby mostly set up, so we should be going into our first set, which will be the Hillbilly set, which will be starting with Rapture on the killer first. So
So that means
Y'all.
that this was Rapture's pick then, correct?
Yes, so Hillbilly was what Rapture wanted, Synapse wanted Cenobite, and then Plague being the tiebreaker. I'm sure both teams quite happy with that. So I'm interested to see what Rapture has been cooking up with the Hillbilly pick.
Yeah, so it's probably going to be Rion here on the Hillbilly. I'm excited to see what he brings. I mean, even people that weren't considered insane Hillbilly mains before might be picking him up now and doing things that they could never have done before post rework. So, I mean, these Billy sets are so new. They're not solved. Survivors aren't going to have the muscle memory yet to dodge that overdrive chainsaw, especially with the engravings. So, I am anticipating a really high octane adrenaline pumping game.
Right, so that's what we have to look forward to when we come back to these matches from a short break. All right, folks, we are kicking off this first set with an answer to the question, and it appears Ryan has decided engravings and Thompson's mix is the way to go. Still wants that speed with low probing out of the equation. The cooldown is absolutely the choice he wants to go for, and with an immediate chainsaw sprint to this LT wall, he will find Claudette running around the corner, bams the window, and she will take chase to a decent filler pallet near the bus, but overdrive already kicking in. That will be the M1 on the Claudette. The pallet coming down for the sun a little bit too late, and that's going to cost her a little bit of distance as Ryan kind of bumps into a locker at the bus. That bus is not so fun for him right now. And now Claudette's still playing the fun bus as she has gotten the strong window and the drop pallet. Ryan kind of zoning her away from the rest of the map as we see Claudette continuing to take chase as the other survivors have started off on the first generators.
Yeah, first chase going well so far for the survivors as Rion trying to go to another filler pallet here. I mean, low pro chains are banned, so the way that these Billy chases are going to be played out is way different, and I don't know how he bumped there on that pallet. That should have been a pallet break, as really important here that Jiggy on the Claudette, he has the best variant of the bus here. The window is in the middle, and Rion is going to have to bamboozle that sooner or later.
Now, I'm not a Billy player myself, but one of the things I've noticed from some Hillbilly players is that they get a little bit thrown off on the timing of curves because of overdrive kicking your speed up a little bit. So I wonder if this is maybe messing with Ryan's muscle memory a little bit, or maybe not being used to playing on this particular map. I know, like, one of the things that, like, Blight players will complain about on Blood Lodge is the collision being a little bit weird, so that could be a factor coming in as... Again, without the low pro, it's a lot harder to zone here. And, you know, Claudette is, in fact, getting jiggy with it, keeping Ryan on the top side of the map as first gen is popped and surely another one is on the way. Claudette just buying as much time as she can in the corrupted area. And 3 gens popped in the middle of this first chase, and one of them was also on the side of the map where Claudette has been chasing. So any possible 3 gen that might still be remaining here is gone.
Yeah, and that's got to be extremely painful for Rion. 3 gens popping during the first chase. First down finally going to come in, and even if he has a pain rest here, it's not going to do very much because there's not much progress on the next gens. And, I mean, perfect opening for the survivors here. That's exactly what you want to see. But on the side of Rapture, this is just devastating.
Yeah, unfortunately, just a little bit of the chase mechanics not panning out in Ryan's favor. He will go ahead and find Nancy. I think based on how much gen progress drivers got for that first chase, he rightfully decides, you know what, I just am not in a position to camp this out. I have to go for freshes, try and solo my pressure, and he will continue chasing onto Nancy using a little bit of weaker spots. He does this window, but Ryan with the curve will get a much faster down onto Nancy. We see survivors doubling another gen in the distance, but with Pain Res and Pop available, he should be able to interrupt this gen if he calls it correctly. And there's another gen that's really high progress, so it still should be enough to interrupt it.
Yeah, first Pain Res coming in for Rion here. That was a really nice curve there onto Mordo at the broken truck. And they did not stop their aggression here, so no Pop's going to be able to come through. But if Rion is able to end his next couple of chases quickly, this could be his opportunity to get back into the game as he takes the endurance hit onto Mordo, who's going to run directly to the shack. And Rion does not want to deal with that shack. He's going to go for fresh hooks here. Actually, Jiggy is the only other non-fresh hook. He's going to go for a curve here on the filler pallet. Barely under curves it. Jiggy makes the pallet and also makes the shack. So Rion is just going to be leaving. He doesn't want to deal with shack right now with the position he's in.
Yeah, he's coming back to this gen that he knows had high progress. He knows surely the survivors have gotten back onto it. It is in fact Renato who's been pressuring the gen the whole time. He will be running over to the main building to get a little bit of safety, but Ryan now sort of splitting his pressure, not really committing to anything as he has a Nia on the fun bus. He'll go ahead and bam the window as she just takes her distance, and the chainsaw zoning, she could go down on this rock. The curve not quite working, the preemptive crouch tech, she will make the pallet in time, even with the cooldown of the Thompson pick, and this is a very precarious situation for her. Look at the curve around this. This is a pallet break instead, but Nia's been zoned away from anything that she can work with. This should be a down onto her, unless she can avoid this next chainsaw, and it will not be enough. So this will be the third fresh hook of the game as the fourth generator pops. Now, only Renato, as the last survivor, was not been hooked, but the last gen will also pop for that hook. And I think both gates are on the side of the map of the hook. So Ryan at least has a decent position to patrol, and he will also spot out Renato here going for this last gen. He is healthy, there's no endgame perks in play. But if you are Ryan here, this is the survivor that you'd like to find.
Yeah, it's also probably the survivor that the survivors are not too upset about being chased because he has hope. So that's going to help him out in this chase here with Ryan. And, I mean, he's going to be scrambling to get any extra stages here. The survivors were so efficient, so good in chase, that goes for the curve, and he just barely misses that one around the L portion of the TL wall. And Rion maybe wants to leave here, but he shouldn't, because this is the fresh hook that he needs. He needs to get this down onto Palais and get that 6-stage result. Cuts him off with the Thompson's mix, and he's forced to go back to the TL. I mean, unless he can force the Hillbilly to M1 him here and then get a body block, I don't think there's much he can do here when he's zoned into the corner of the map.
But this is pain. He's got hope. Urban Evasion's also a really good chase perk against Hillbilly. And also, even the smash hit coming in is really nice against Hillbilly because you know there's no low pro in play. You can just camp the pallet and get the guaranteed smash hit. Pallet has the exact perfect build for looping Ryan for as long as he wants at this point in the game. Even at an LT wall, you can only bam one of these windows, and it's just so hard to actually make distance here. This is an absolute tragedy for Ryan, unless I'm about to caster curse Valley. That seems like some weird collision.
Yeah, we saw a reset happen in the distance. He's now going to be leaving the TL walls. Misses another chainsaw, and we might be seeing somebody come in to try to take a chainsaw down that's already been hooked. Oh, a little bit of body blocking happens there. Another curve is missed, and he's inching ever closer to the gate. If anybody's going to take that chainsaw down, oh, somehow goes between the survivors, and they're all going to get out.
And a 3-stage is an absolute tragedy when this is the set that you wanted to play. This is going to be an extremely difficult win con for Rapture survivors to meet going into the next game.
Yeah, going into this break here, I hope the side of Rapture is mentally tough here for this survivor side game that is coming up for them. It is going to be an incredibly difficult win condition for them against the new Hillbilly. And I guess what we're seeing is that even though Billy has been buffed, the variance in his chases has not gone anywhere. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to go to a short break as we set up the next Billy game, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Blood Lodge, everybody, as we're going to have Synapse on the Hillbilly here with a very loose win condition. Already finding first chase onto Rion at the main building, and Rion, expecting Bamboozle, is just going to leave that area, and so is the Hillbilly. Yakai here finding his first chase. We can't see anything because of the blue flames, but Bolitar going to be taking chase at this filler pallet outside of main.
And this is looking to be a fast down. He does get the crouch attack on it, and he will make another pallet for it, even with the Thompson mix coming in. Takes the M1 instead. Yokot reading that he is not going to get that chainsaw. And we are seeing the exact same build from Yokot's Hillbilly that we saw from Ryan in the previous game. Bolitar getting mined in a little bit on the TL wall, and this will be a much faster first down than we had in the previous game. The gens have just started being worked, and in our last game, that first down happened after the first 3 gens popped.
Yeah, so given that the win condition here is, what, 4 stages, a down that early is kind of a death sentence for Rapture.
Now, the one, okay, hear me out. The one copium moment is it was 3 fresh hooks. There's at least that going for them, you know? So it's not quite as viable to just sit with the chainsaw and face camp Bolitar. You do have to sort of spread your pressure at least a little bit, and Yokat is going to do that. But there's also, this is a pretty gross, almost 5-gen on the top side of the map. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, there is quite a bit of gens on the top side of the map, and I think Yakat here, he was not necessarily face camping the hook, but proxying and looking for the person that would have been unhooking, and I think he did find that in Gen Blight. So now he's going to go back to the hook, confident that nobody is going to be coming for the unhook.
I mean, he's so close to hitting second that you just save your chance on now. You're not going to lose anything to just confirm the second stage and then go look for someone else. And then once you find them and down them, you can't bend a second and you win, right? You only need 4 stages. And, you know, Yokat is just, he's hard vibing here. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, Yokat playing for the win condition there. And I think the critical play there was him choosing to curve around the main building instead of staying too close to the hook. And that allowed him to find the person that would have been the unhooker. And that allowed him to get Bolitar to second, which, like you just said, means that his next down is going to effectively be the win because he can just camp with the chainsaw.
It looks like he might actually be committing to secure just the full death on the Bolitar here, knowing that you can't 1-for-1 against an insta-down, and he just needs enough time to be able to down one other survivor, and that's win. So, pretty easy. And I think also, I want to point out that the RNG that these survivors have gotten is a little bit worse. You have that sort of broken truck off in the distance. That is like the worst possible tile that you can get in that spot. You could have also gotten like a fun bus like we had in the previous game. You could have gotten a crane. And having a much weaker topside when there's already this brutal of a gem spread is just pain.
Yeah, I think I would rather have the split bus even over that broken truck, as we saw the survivors having a lot of fun at the God Window bus last game. It's another gen he's going to pop right here, but as you said, the next down is the win for Yakat. He is going to have no trouble here doing that, getting an M1 onto Flix at this pallet, and he's just going to be following with the chainsaw, probably just going to shred any pallet that he can, or maybe just win an M1 mind game here to set Synapse up 1-0 in the series.
This is a pretty strong filler. Flick should be a little comfy here, and I want to point out, one of the things that's been very interesting about the new balancing for Hillbilly is the removal of low pro has actually really affected how you can play chases. Like, you'll see here, the Hillbilly players are still using the chainsaw to zone, basically, for the insta break, but, well, that down is going to be the win con for Synapse, but now you can't play the zoning game as oppressively as you could before because you're not going to hit them through the pallet. It functions almost a bit more like how a Demogorgon shred is when it's charged. Just a little bit more threatening if you don't time the pallet drop correctly. And that's allowed a little bit more expressiveness for the survivors to play the chases the way they want to, not having to worry about a lose-lose scenario if you drop the pallet in the Hillbilly's face. And I'm really liking that change in the balancing.
So overdrive gonna kick in, and Rion not able to react to the overdrive in time. And I mean, the game is already over, but we're seeing a showcase of what the new Hillbilly can do to survivors that he catches in the open. One generator remaining, Rion is on the hook, and now Gen Blight, last man standing. Is he going to get found here?
I believe in GB. But like one of the things that we just saw there with that, how fast that down came in is, yeah, I've been told repeatedly from the Hillbilly players I know, you don't really need engravings anymore because of the speed you go with overdrive. But if you have both of those things, it's just so hard to react to it if you're caught out in the open. And all of the Auto Haven maps, which we often see Hillbilly on, Blood Lodge now, a lot of Gas Heaven or Wretched Shop in the past, there's a lot of just open spaces where you can really be caught off guard if you're not in a good position. And Ryan here has a pretty weak filler, and he will just get M1 tagged through the pallet. Yokat gonna go ahead and slug and go for these survivors, knowing this is where the last two are. I think he's a little bit confused, double checking to make sure no one is crossed there without him knowing. He will see both Gen Blight and the Atom as well. And he's content to go for the slug onto Atom first.
Looks like, I mean, survivors of Rapture, they also have the good bus. It's just in a different spot.
True.
And I would personally, as Flix is eventually going to get M1 here with this pallet on the bus, I would love to see the numbers on the meters per second on the new overdrive with and without engravings, just to see how new Hillbilly compares to some of the other fastest dashers in the game, like Wesker or Dembo.
I remember seeing someone write those out once. I just don't remember what they are, if I'm being honest. So, we will be trying to play for the last gen to pop. It looks like maybe it's doable, but with Yokat finding Ryan injured and a part of the map where there's already been a lot of pallets dropped and broken, this is going to be rough. We'll not get hit by the chainsaw, but with that T-Mix cooldown, like, Ryan is going to get nowhere, and he has nothing to work with anyway. That will be the down. Genblight is hovering, and as I recall, he's got Sprint Burst and he's got a Beamer, but Yokat is sniffing him out. He's on top of this hill, cannot quite find Genblight just yet. Will Chainsaw dash past him, looking to slug for the 4K, and if Ryan can recover a little bit more, GB will be able to get this pickup. He just sort of secret agent Ace stealthing around these rocks. You know, if no one else got me, this rock got me. That's the mantra. As Yokat's coming back to that slug and may go ahead and go for the pick. Not a whole lot of point in prolonging this game, having already secured the win con, of course. And I think when you're Rapture and this is the set you want and you lose the set sort of by this much of a margin, it's really demoralizing going into the next game. So we're going to have to see if they're going to be able to bounce back from this, as now Synapse gets to play the killer they wanted to play going into this.
And yeah, the Cenobite is not just Synapse's pick, it's also a pick that they have a tried and true record on. So, and we have not seen Rapture play, I think, a single Cenobite set in the winter circuit. Whereas Synapse has some great wins over good teams on the Cenobite, as Genblight is maybe going to be trying to go for a door here. It's not going to matter, though. Billy is so mobile. It would take a screw-up of massive proportions for him to escape out the doors here, but that escape wouldn't matter at all anyways.
It's the moral victory, you know? So the hatch kick coming in, and these two doors being relatively easy to patrol, but Yokat just makes a smart choice and immediately goes for the furthest one. Does get a little bit of a bump there. That collision's going to look a little bit screwy on his end, but he will be able, he can just stand there. I'm pretty sure you can see both doors from that spot in the middle. And now Genblight is just playing solid snake here. Will be found. He's got the sprint burst, but with Bam coming in, should be on this window. Yeah, and Genblight. Is that a double or a triple vault?
Oh, that was a triple vault. That's a quadruple vault.
Honestly, I'm
5, 6 vaults. Or is he even vaulting, or is he just standing there and turning his red light around? I can't tell.
I don't actually know. These are like truly the comp mind games. You don't know how many times the killer's gonna vault. You got a pallet here. And this is kind of what I meant by the low pro being gone. Like, you can actually play that pallet. You don't have to worry about, oh, he just pulls up his chainsaw and I drop and I get hit anyway, lest I get insta-down. DB actually has like some real agency here. But
yeah,
now,
next time somebody tries to tell you that comp players are too sweaty, show them that quintuple vault on the T section of the TL wall, as Genblight going to be going all the way down into the corner by the pallet waves to the Hillbilly, and that is going to put the nails in the coffin for Rapture. 1-0 in favor of Synapse, going into Synapse's killer pick.
I'm just saying, if it's worth vaulting once, it's worth vaulting twice. And if it's worth vaulting twice, you may as well vault it a third time.
Just Cole embodying the spirit of every Hubs Wraith killer that we play against in our solo queue matches. So that is going to do it for the Hillbilly set, guys. Expect something great in the Cenobite set coming up. It is going to be Synapse's pick. They have the initiative in this series. They could just end the final match of the day right now. So we're going to go to a short break while we set up the Cenobite set. Don't go anywhere. It'll be great.
The Pinhead set. You opened it. We came. As we will be kicking this one off with Jiggy on the Pinhead against Rapture Survivors, looking to close out. And he has immediately found that box to start off the game. And he will know where every survivor, probably except one, is. This is a set where we see a lot of Calm Spirit, but I believe Rapture not running Calm Spirit on any of their survivors will give Jiggy the opportunity to find everyone that he wants as the chain hunt is starting off and the opening moments of the game.
Yeah, immediately gets that chain hunt and the information out of the survivors, and that's just going to be something that they have to do before they can start to progress the generators here. As first chase going to be happening onto Matt at this 4-lane tile. passive chains coming in from the chain hunt, and he makes it to the pallet and just slams it on Jiggy's head. Nice play there from Matt. Time is going to be bought, and where is he going to take this? Because he was zoned edge mapped. He chooses to just stay at the 4 lane, and he's going to take attacks for that.
Yeah, but he was doing a really good job of disorienting Jiggy there, making his movements a little bit hard to discern behind the wall, and then getting the pallets done. But unfortunately for him, the passive chain tagging him gave him away with that sound, and that allowed Jiggy to figure out where he was and get that chase. Not able to quite play that edge map pallet. Again, these passive chains are such a pain to deal with in chase, and that will be a relatively early down for him, as now Game Over has picked up the box, but not quite solving it just yet. As this first hook comes in, there's about a 3rd gen progress on 2 different gens, and Game Over not solving the box, and I'm not sure what
Does Game Over not know that the passive chains don't interrupt the solving anymore?
I don't know. But the chase will be going on in the main building.
So that is why the chase was kept at the 4 lane, because the box was at Shack. But the solve is just not coming through yet. He's still not solving the box. I'm pretty sure that was changed recently, where if you get hit with the passive chains, you continue to solve.
He's solving it now, and I want to point out, we highlighted a bit of the RNG earlier, and the survivors here on Wretched Shop, you've got 2 windows that you can get, and one is definitely stronger than the other, and the survivors have gotten the stronger window on this main building. There's no BAM in play. That will be something they can be happy about if the chases are going around the main building, and since there's a hook kind of nearby and an active gen, we're going to see 2 gens pop. We're going to see almost certainly Matt go to 2nd stage. But we will possibly have chases around main building, and that will come in handy for the survivors.
Yeah, and I like this play from Jiggy. I mean, this down was really early, and he knows that somebody wasn't doing gens the entire time and instead going for the box. 2 gens are going to pop, but that's honestly expected. And with Original Pain and Sloppy, he can be reasonably sure that he'll be able to find Matt after he gets unhooked and get that tunnel out.
Yeah, Cenobite is not a killer we traditionally think of as being a super oppressive in chase in the way that like an S tier is or a Wesker, but if you're the first person he's on, he's actually really good at tunneling someone because of like the perks he brings and this add-on. It's so difficult to deal with, and we're usually seeing if Pinhead gets you to 2nd stage on your first hook, you're kind of just screwed. There's not a whole lot that can be done to stop you from dying. And the question really just becomes, how much gen progress can your team get? And if necessary, how many hits can they take for you? But we're not seeing teams wanting to do a whole lot of that because of Sloppy. And I'm also...
Yeah, and it looks like Matt is gonna die. I think Game Over might have been the only person in position to save there, and Game Over just ate a free tag on the edge map, and Matt is gonna die at 3 gens. This is really bad for Rapture. You can't be losing a survivor unforced like that at 3 gens.
Very powerful pre-drop. And I want to highlight again, in the multiple Pinhead sets that we have seen previously, every team is bringing 1 player with Calm Spirit, and that player's job is just get the box. Because even if Pinhead gets the box before you, even however chain hunt is triggered, Calm Spirit will stop you from showing up on that notification that gets on his screen. So that's the easiest person to go for that. Rapture does not have that, and so far it hasn't really punished them. But if we get into a now that we're in a 1v3, if we get into maybe a 1v2 scenario where 1 survivor is left standing, that player having Calm Spirit means they can actually stealth out the Pinhead waiting to get his box to pick it up and reveal them. Rapture does not have that option. They have to play this game a little bit more standard, and we have a 3rd gen popping. This one's got pretty good progress. There's no pop on Jiggy, so not losing a whole lot on it, as this is, so far, not a single pain res. It looks like Jiggy's gotten some really unlucky RNG. When he killed Matt, he didn't get a single pain res off of him. He didn't get a pain res off of Fang. That's now a 4th gen popping, and now Jiggy does get the early tunnel out, but he's going to have to rely on that no-head probably to see how many stages he can secure, as the survivors have a pretty good gen spread too. This could turn around.
Yeah, usually when you see a survivor die as early as Matt did, you start to think like, oh, this is going to be 4k1 at best. But with 0 pain reses coming in on no pain res onto Game Over, not a single pain res onto Matt because he died on his first hook. He still has all of them remaining, so survivors have just had very good gen efficiency here. And I think, if he had gotten any of those pain reses, he would be in a much better spot right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to highlight also, we're looking at some of these survivor builds. the Matt had no one left behind. So that's one endgame perk that they will not have. But crucially, if Jiggy decides to tunnel Fang off of Hook when endgame rolls around, she has hope. If I believe it is Adam, yeah, if Flix decides to take hits, he's got Addy in his back pocket. He will get that endgame heal. So the survivors do have two really good endgame perks in their back pocket, and we saw in that first Hillbilly set just how good Hope can be against an M1 killer in the late game if it's able to come into play. Now Cartney is the one taking chase, is already tagged, and Game Over is really close to dying. There's also the box about to be done, so we'll have to see what is the decision that Flix is going to make. He has gone for the save. This will be delaying the gen progress, but they also have to go for that box as Chase is continuing on to Cartney and the top side of the map, which is getting kind of close to where the box is, and a highly progress gen. I think we had another one that was pretty decently progress at Shack, so good gen progress, and the survivors are keeping up with the killer's pressure very well here.
Yeah, surely he gets a pain resonance off of Cartney, right? Like, I think saving Game Over there is definitely the correct choice. You cannot let just two survivors in a row die on Hook without being saved. So we've got one survivor, and that's going to be Game Over, working that gen all the way in the corner by Shack, as Flixie is going to be positioning for the unhook on Cartney. As we see Jiggy checking this gen by Shack, he's going to see the injured Game Over behind the Shack. Surely this is going to be a chase that he wants to take. Game Over is injured and death hook.
And we do get the confirmation here that was a pain res on to the last Hook, which is very nice here. Chase continuing on to Game Over, who is dead on Hook. It doesn't have a real chase exhaustion, really praying team, I beg you, get that last gen done. I need my hope as this Hook, as the chain comes in rather, and this is not a great tile. I think Game Over makes this killer, but instead goes for a double vault on the window, or a revault rather, not quite making it. This will be the down, and this will be a second survivor dead as the last generator pops, and unfortunately, the injured survivor is the one who does not have adrenaline, and now Jiggy has got that no-ed activated. It looks like these gates are actually reasonably far apart, and Jiggy is going to the gate closest to where he knows that last gen popped, sees a survivor, has done a lot of progress on it, will be able to interrupt it, and I think between the chain slowdown and the no-ed, this is going to be a death.
Escape me.
Yeah, so Cartney is going to go down in the gate, which is not the worst thing that could have happened, as Cartney's not a fresh hook and Flixie is. But, you know, all things considered, considering how early Matt died, I think this is a decent result for Rapture.
Oh yeah, Rapture survivors really turned this game around. They decided, wait, you have to get this open. The other gate's being worked. Okay, no, he's out.
Okay,
he's out.
it is
okay. Yeah, no, Rapture survivors turned this around, and this is the kind of bounce back that we needed to see after that first Hillbilly set. So with essentially the next win con being get a 4K, more or less, that's realistically what outcome that would have to be. At least this gives the killer for Rapture a pretty clear idea of what they need to do, and I think it's a very achievable goal. We have seen a lot of 4K 1s, even some 4K 2s on Pinhead. You can get outs in this set, but I think you get outs less often than you don't. So,
yeah, so before the next set, maybe we could bring Rats in here to talk about just how Rapture was able to bring that back despite Matt dying on Hook extremely early.
Absolutely.
So, a very interesting game that I've played here. I'm excited to analyze this a bit further. We have seen a very quick chase happen in the early game in the location where there were not any generators really, that the 3-gen that they have to be worried about. However, the down was really early and they chose to not save, which which basically equivalents to 2 minutes of generator efficiency that they have if they decide to not save. I'm very interested. I'm very surprised that they didn't save. They could have definitely chosen to save that hook, because even though a Cenobite is really good at tunneling with that add-on, getting that unhook and then maybe in the protection hit is kind of like vital to buy a little bit more time than just those 2 minutes. And it's possible to chase for a bit longer, but I understand the decision to not save that, to keep the health states that they had, to not have to reset in the 3 versus 1 against the sloppy butcher. And at the same time, the hook was not in a position where they were worried about a 3-gen, right? They were just like popping the generators all around the map without having that hook influencing anything really. So they slammed out the generators for it. They were kind of slow in it, and also another reason why I'm surprised I didn't save is because you kind of don't want a tunnel out to happen, because if a tunnel out happens in a 3 versus 1, a Cenobite is even stronger simply because you'll have another survivor that needs to rotate for the box to solve it. At the other hand, I'm also questioning a little bit why Jiggy on the Cenobite chose to play this 3-1 the way he did. He was very like campy and didn't really commit for many chases, which if he chose to do that and like more like proxy and pressure the survivors of the generators and commit for those chases, people will stay injured simply because they can't reset through that sloppy butcher. They'll have to solve the box, and people will have to go for the unhooks every now and then. And assuming that the Painox hooks were really unlucky, it looked like the Painox hooks were all on the left side of the map, and the right side where was the area where most hooks happened. Commitment for a little bit like further chases would have been definitely the play for my Painox hooks. That being said though, the survivors did a great job returning this and fighting back, making sure that they get the generators completed for the tunnel, for the camp. They completed 2 generators for the camp and had 2 more really high progress for it, which then they popped. And then basically a 3 versus 1 on 1 gen left with some sort of 3 gen, but no Painox hooks in it, so they were able to break it eventually when Jiggy was overcommitting a little bit on game over near Shack. Great comeback. Also great result to get a fresh hook out the door on that kind of situation they were that they had to deal with. But now we've got Rapture on the killer side going against Synapse's survivors, and we'll see if they can bring this back, or I say bring this back, but we have seen everything from just a few stages to 4Ks on 2 generators left in the set, so let's see how this goes.
And once again, this is in fact the set that Synapse wanted, so they should be confident going into the Survivor game 100%.
Yeah, so Rapture, tournament life on the line here. It's all in Ryan's hands. He needs to get 10 stages here. Okay, we are back. Housekeeping. Ryan had a banned perk, so going to be starting this pinhead set with only 3 perks. Sloppy is missing from his build, as that was the subject of the balance offense. Like I said before, Rapture's backs are against the wall here. They are going to need to meet the win condition or be eliminated from the winter circuit, as he is going to find his first chain onto Jiggy.
Yeah, and this is the time, as the kids say, to lock in, as the first chase happening around main building. And crucially, at least the consolation for Ryan here is that Claudette does not have the good window at main, but he's going to leave her anyway and find someone else who's already working on a gen. Chain coming in onto Mordo, who will be taking chase far away from that top side of the map. There is an active gen here. Another survivor is working on the box. As Nancy has a somewhat weaker tile to play, the chain will hit her, and this will be a tag.
Yep, good first hit there from Ryan, but notably, he did not seem concerned at all with where the box was. So survivors are going to solve that very quickly, and that's going to be a loss out on what is usually a good first slowdown for Pinhead players. Chase going to continue on to Nancy here. Is she going to make this bus pallet after getting hit by the chain? She is. She is going to get tagged up with the impaling wire chain, though. Makes the window, and is just going to hold W away from that strong bus setup. Dodges the chain. Nice pathing there from Mordo, as he's going to make it to the 4 lane here at the top side of the map. Ryan needs this down as soon as possible if he's able to meet this win con. Nice play again from Mordo, staying alive at this 4 lane, gets the vault.
Mordo's doing a really good job of playing safe, redropping his pallets. Nice caster curse. I'm so sorry, Mordo. But Ryan does not miss with these chains. Every single one is hit. It's forced Nancy to just pre-drop pallets and just get away, and that will prolong the chase. We do have 1, maybe 2 gens about to pop. That is possibly a pain rest, as it appears that there's now a spectator bug onto Ryan. I don't think he's actually just face camping her, as we'll see the next time he breaks a pallet, it should fix it. We have 3 gens really close, and yeah, I think Pally has noted that Ryan's on him. Yeah. So this should be the fix of the bug, as now Pallet just camps the dropped shack pallet.
Yeah,
But
so the
two
next
more
time the killer does any action, yeah, there we go. It's gonna unbug. He must have kicked the gen there, and now he's going to be looking for his next chase. He doesn't seem concerned with camping this hook at all. So with the half a hook stage penalty, his win condition is going to be just a little bit more strict. He really needs to get a big result here, as 2 generators pop in the distance. And he can be reasonably sure that that was most of the gen progress that the survivors had across the map. So he's going to come back towards the hook here and see if he can mess with the unhook or just prevent it entirely.
I mean, realistically, since his win con is now officially like just 10 hooks, and sloppy is like maybe the one Perkins build that you can sort of get away with not having. Realistically, he was already required to have a 4K, right? On the spectrum of pinhead results that we've seen, it's either a 4K or you're getting outs. So what outcome we're expecting from Ryan has not really changed even with the penalty. So that is not as big of a deal as it might seem, but the survivor's gen efficiency is just so good. And remember, in the last game that we had, there was an incredibly early first down that came in. The gen pressure was really good, but now these survivors, they have equivalent gen pressure, but that first down was just a lot more delayed. So even with what appears to be a 1-for-1 coming in, Ryan's possibly able to slow it down with the chains, but 2 survivors coming in, you can't slow down both of them. The tunnel out is not necessarily coming on to Nancy. Ryan gets 2 tags for the save. Fortunately for survivors, it's not a sloppy butcher tag. A 4th gen is about halfway on the way, and it's the Deja Vu survivor working on it as well. This will be a tag onto Nancy with the chains. She will be the subject of the tunnel out here. She has a decent bust with also this drop pallet, and unfortunately for her, you do not get a balanced landing proc when you vault that window. Ryan may be getting a little bit lost, thinking she was about to bust. Mordo continued to just drop every pallet early. If the chain hits here, she is dead, and that is the chain. She will slow vault. She's winning that 50-50, but she will just hit the tag at the drop pallet, and this should be the death onto Nancy at about 4 gens left.
Yeah, and it looks like the survivors are actually taking time to reset here. So Ryan getting a death, and it looks like there's 50% progress on the final generator, and I think we might have just spectator bugged him out again.
Well, you know, spectator bugs happen all the time. We're used to it. We adapt and overcome as Ale goes ahead and he picks up this box, starting that 3v1 with 3 healthy survivors. 2 survivors being chased at once by an invisible pinhead. This is the competitive gameplay we were looking for, as Nia will just keep running loops around main. Jiggy taking his distance away from the main building, as now we've got pinhead unbugged.
Jiggy is going to be pre-dropping pallets. Everybody's going to be pre-dropping pallets here. I think the survivors know this chase right here is probably the most important one of the day. If it's fast, Ryan might be able to start getting a snowball of pain resonance hooks and get himself closer to that win condition. But if he gets juiced here, the last gen is going to pop and he is not going to be able to complete that win condition. So how long can Jiggy stay alive here? He's actually just going to go to the comp corner, has run out of resources, and is just going to hope that there's no pain resonance hook nearby.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, I think in these early chases, we were seeing Ryan opt to not break any pallets he could possibly avoid. That break on the Fun Bus pallet was very kind of late. We still have a bunch of filler pallets that are dropped but not broken. I wonder if Ryan's just confident in being able to hit these chains and use the slowdown to win the mind games or the 50-50s around those pallets. As he's taking a brief patrol of the main building, sees scratch marks, knows this unhook is coming in, and now probably going to go for the tunnel out, but actually looking to give a tag onto Nia, possibly wanting to go for fresh hooks to get that pain resonance, but he does appear to have Claudette in sight. But this is going to be the last gen popping, and with 3 survivors still on their feet, even if they're healthy, the chase will be on Nia, but this should be allowing the survivors to get the last gen pop and get a gate. And that's Adrenaline and Hope on the survivor he's chasing. Adrenaline cleansing the deep wound, but with Noed now Ryan's going to leave and look for a healthy survivor, but he has to basically chain slug all 3 remaining survivors in order to secure his win con.
Yeah, and survivors from Synapse are this close to eliminating Rapture here. Chase coming in onto Palais. He needs to find some sort of snowball here. Also, the box is still in play. So if the box is able to activate here as he misses that crazy chain due to the firecracker angle, where are the doors also? There's one here. He's He's going to continue chasing Pele here. Gets the chain. Noah down needs to come in very quickly here. The door is going to be opened. Survivors ignoring the box. Synapse is going to take their outs.
Yeah, that's just undefensible RNG. If you've got 3 survivors, it doesn't matter if you got Noah. All they have to do is just spread like rats. You've got gates on opposite sides of the map. You can't possibly, you know, spread your pressure enough. You have no mobility as a pinhead. It's just a really unfortunate situation to have to play out. And I want to point out, again, Pele with a very heads-up firecracker. In a lot of cases, you don't need to get the blind of the firecracker. If you can use it to force the killer who has like a projectile attack of any sort, including a pinhead chain, a demogorgon dash, you can just force them to not be looking at you and throw off that attack. And that's exactly what Pele did to avoid that chain. It was impossible for Ryan to get that hit because of the firecracker. Such a heads-up play.
Yeah, so with that, Rapture is going to be eliminated from the lower bracket. Synapse taking the 2-0 win and is going to move on to the next round. Great games from Rapture. We saw so many good sets from them. It's really sad to see them go, but that's how it goes in the losers bracket.
Yeah, and Synapse also pulling up with some clinical performances, really good killer gameplay, really good survivor gameplay, and you know, after coming back from that defeat against Calamity in round 2 of the winners bracket, they are looking to make a deep run here in the losers bracket and possibly get some payback for the teams that knocked them down.